introduce yourself.
I'm Jenny Daniels and I'm the clerk of the meeting.
Thank you very much. Just before I go on, would I just remind everybody, please, to put their phones on silent? And I'm going to go with the chair of the council and say it's going to be £10 to a charity if they do go off during the meeting. And I'll now like to invite Jenny Daniels to give apologies.
So we've had apologies from Councillor Barbara Jenny and, as said before, Councillor Ben Jameson, and Councillor Lily-Anne Robinson is here in his stead.
Thank you very much. So members are reminded of their duty to ensure they abide by the approved member code of conduct whilst undertaking the role as councillor. Where a matter arises at a meeting which relates to a disclosable pecuniary interest, you must declare the interest, not participate in any discussion or vote on the matter, and must not remain in the room unless granted a dispensation. Where a matter arises at a meeting which relates to other registrable interests, you must declare the interest. You may speak on the matter only if members of the public are also allowed to speak at the meeting, but must not take part in any vote on the matter unless you have been granted a dispensation. Where a matter arises at a meeting which relates to your own financial interest and is not a disclosable pecuniary interest, or relates to a financial interest of a relative, friend or close associate, you must disclose the interest and not vote on the matter unless granted a dispensation. You may speak on the matter only if members of the public are also allowed to speak at the meeting. Now I'd just like to invite any members to declare any interests. Okay. I'd like to declare one myself. I'm the director of a company called Enhanced HR Consulting Limited. It provides HR consulting services to SMEs. But I don't think that I'm trading with anybody that would be interviewed for the position. Okay. So next I'd like to invite members to raise any queries or any corrections to the minutes.
I did mention this earlier on. There weren't many of us that were at the last meeting. Who was here at the last meeting? Because I can't say that, we'll just have to assume that they're right, unless anybody was at the last meeting.
I think
none of us can vote on it because we weren't here.
I think Councillor Jenny was at the last meeting, but she's obviously apologies today, isn't she? So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair? Yes, so we often get this once we've had a set of ordinary elections every 4 years. As a committee, you are at liberty to approve the minutes, so that's okay.
Thank you.
In which case we'll approve.
Is it your wish that I sign them as a true and accurate record of the meeting, and any corrections will be noted in the next set of minutes from this meeting? So
Yes.
I think it's a show of hands, isn't it?
I need a proposer and a seconder.
I need a proposer and a seconder.
I'll second it.
So Councillor Bennyworth to propose and Councillor Harrington to second. Okay.
And then if you just formally approve, a general assent will suffice for this.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. I approve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll take that as a general assent.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, perfect. I'd like to now invite Marie Devlin-Hogg to introduce the report.
And once again, I'm going to defer to my colleague George, who has come to present the report. But thank you. I'm sorry it says that on the agenda.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. For those that may not know me, George Candler, Executive Director for Place and Economy and Deputy Chief Exec. Ordinarily, the Chief Executive would be here this evening. However, she's taking some well-earned annual leave, hence my attendance this evening. So I'm just going to take you through the key elements of the report, if I may. Ultimately, this report is, as you'll see within the recommendation, is about the appointment of a subcommittee that will then undertake the selection and recruitment of a permanent director of transformation and strategy here at Northamptonshire Council, in line with our own council's constitution. By way of brief background, this isn't the first time that we've gone out to recruit for this particular role. You'll see in the report that back in June of 2024, we undertook a campaign to recruit to an executive director of strategy and change, so slightly different in terms of job title and role, but the broad principles were the same. However, unfortunately, no appointment was made, and sometimes that does happen when we go out to recruit. I think what I'll do is I'll describe why we need the role, and then how we've sort of got to this point here now in August 2025. So I suppose in terms of the role, to take us back, when we became a council in April 2021, these last 4 years has been very much a transitional period for the council. And we've focused about getting the core fundamentals and principles of what makes a good performing council run. And it's been very much a sort of a look down and look in as an approach. And that's absolutely fine. It's really important that you have a strong, fit for purpose, resilient organisation, which is what we have and has been demonstrated over these last 4 years. However, we're moving out of that transitional period, and we've now got that opportunity to look up and out as an organisation. And we need to move on now and start to look at how we can proactively look to transform and innovate within the council, but also working alongside our partners that we engage with. As we know, we've got some very large demand-led functional areas within the council, particularly in adult social care, particularly in children's services. They're multifaceted, they're very complex. They have high budgets attached to them, but they also have high importance in terms of the outcomes that they deliver attached to them. So opportunities to transform both within the organisation, but also working in partnership with our partners is at the forefront of our work programme going forward, of which this role would play an active role in. The role is also about, so it's not just about transformation, it's also about, as part of that looking up and out, it's also about understanding policy that's coming over the horizon, understanding strategies that are being developed at a national level, and how best we as an organisation can interpret those, can predict those, using our own localised data alongside that national policy to shape and continually evolve as an organisation. It's also important to, I think, just to touch briefly on the peer review that the organisation had in September 2024, and the report was presented to Council in December 2024. And again, within that, there were some strong recommendations around having a strong direction of travel, but also about strengthening our focus and in particular our prioritisation planning, so that we're really focused and laser-like in our approach to what we are going to prioritise and why. So that's broadly the sort of the why. The role itself, as you'll have seen in the job description and in the person spec attached to the report, is about leadership first and foremost, and management. They will have teams to lead and manage within the organisation around transformation and change. They will also be taking responsibility for our ongoing One Council programme that members will be familiar with, but also developing a wider, more medium-term transformation programme for the organisation into some of those areas that I was referring earlier. It's also about, as I mentioned, leading on that corporate policy piece, and as I say, understanding what's coming over the horizon at a national level, at a sub-regional level. They'll also take responsibility for the Local Government Association graduate scheme, of which we are heavily involved in, and that's very much about how we look to develop our own talent pool within the organisation, and that's something that we're committed to as a council, and to be that employer of choice. And I suppose crucially, the importance of this role, it will report directly into the Chief Exec, so that demonstrates the degree of importance that is being placed on this role to genuinely help to ensure that we continue to transform, to evolve, to innovate, both within the organisation and in that wider partnership space. So in terms of I suppose what we now need to do is, as I say, following that unsuccessful recruitment campaign in 2024, what I've just described to you in terms of the why and the review that we've undertaken and the peer review that has been undertaken has brought us to this point for this particular role and the recruitment of it. We will be working with an external executive search partner, which is fairly standard for this level of and importance of role, and that is detailed within the report, with a campaign to start this week with the advert in the Municipal Journal, which is the sort of go-to publication where people want to seek employment within the local government sector. Now, within the Constitution, the Employment Committee can discharge its functions through a subcommittee, hence the recommendations within the report. And that subcommittee will then become the interview panel, and again, as you'll see in the report, that needs to be made up of a range of members that reflect the political balance that we've got here in the council. In terms of next steps, they're articulated in 6.1 of the report, but what we will be looking for, subject to approval of the recommendations, is to develop and create that subcommittee comprising of 6 members, and they will then undertake the process which is listed in 6.1 A, B and C, including longlisting and shortlisting, as well as undertaking the interviews themselves. And then following those interviews, obviously an appointment will be made and recommended back to the executive. You'll see in the report there are other elements of the recruitment process that will be undertaken, including technical interviews, including psychometric testing, and a separate stakeholder panel made up of the corporate leadership team as well. And all of that will help inform the subcommittee alongside their own interviews to make a decision on the recruitment process. So that's broadly the report. Drawing your attention back to the recommendations, they're detailed at 3.1A, B, C, D and E and F, and the reasons for those are detailed at 3.2. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. So I'd like to now invite councillors to ask any questions to... It says here the Assistant Director of Human Resources, but it's actually or either or, George or Marie.
I think it's possibly outside the scope of what we're here to debate, but I have to say I'm very pleased to see the very clear statement about private and voluntary sectors within the partnership, collaboration and managing reputation piece of the job description. I think in terms of, we all know the financial pressures, we all know the pressures of capacity to deliver the services to our communities, and the role personally, for me, it's the voluntary sector, but equally the private sector have a key role to play as well. So I'm pleased to see that's clearly stated. Arguably, it could be perhaps even stated even greater, in my opinion. But I just think, say, the fact it's there and there as strong as it is, I think is quite important, and it's good to see.
Perfect. I've just got a question myself, if that's okay. What was the reason the previous appointment recruitment drive was unsuccessful?
Well, I suppose what essentially when it came to interview, when the interview panel considered everything in the round, so there was a stakeholder panel, there was psychometric testing, there was technical interviews to go from that long list to short list. It was felt that none of the candidates perhaps responded in a way that gave the panel confidence that they were going to be able to make a sound appointment. And as I say, sometimes that happens in the world of recruitment. We'd like to always think that we get every single recruitment campaign as a successful one, and invariably we do. But I think it's important that if it doesn't feel quite right, if the cultural fit sometimes isn't quite right, then it's an important decision to make. It's an important role to get right, and so sometimes not making a decision, if that is the right thing to do, is a good decision. And it was I think it was around that sort of combination of factors and cultural fit. But Marie, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, that sums it up, but also it gave us a good opportunity to review the role, which goes back to, there was a slight change there. It was an exec director, probably some of the clarity there, which is why there was a bit of a mismatch, I think, with some of the candidates. But it gave us a really good opportunity to review that and benchmark and look at what other councils have as well. So it was the right decision, and it meant that we could obviously then make sure the role was absolutely fit for purpose as well. So I think it was a combination of those things, George. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gibbs. Sorry, Councillor Bennyworth.
Thank you, Chair. I know it's a bit hard to see down the line there, so I've made that mistake myself. Thank you, George. Thank you, Marie. I think it's also worth noting, just picking up on your question, Chair, that it's also enormously costly to get a recruitment of this scale and this magnitude and this importance wrong. So, I speak from bitter experience of, appointing in haste and repenting in leisure. So I just wanted to make that point and then just pick up on one more, if I can. You mentioned, George, that the recruitment was being advertised in the Municipal Journal, which I know, as you said, is the go-to place. But is there anything being done to look at recruitment channels more widely so that we can widen the pool to people perhaps that don't see the Municipal Journal on a regular basis? Can we widen that pool in this recruitment?
Yeah, and there's absolutely a plan that we'll also be looking at LinkedIn and other forums, because obviously there's a vast professional network out there as well. So, and lots of people prefer online. I mean, the MJ is online, but some people still like the hard copy, I think, in terms of the MJ. But yeah, LinkedIn and some of those other forums, and we also have it on our careers page on our website, etc. So yeah, we'll look at all the different options to the widest possible pool, hopefully.
And just to add to that, the reason we go with an executive search company as well is they have a database of potential candidates as well, and so they are also on our behalf will make contact with those potential candidates. So we try and use every possible method to ensure that we target is the right people. So that is of equal importance, I think, having an executive search company that have got those candidates that can have those conversations one-to-one, as opposed to just reading something either online or in a publication. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Councillor Gibbs.
I'm very excited about this role. I've worked shoulder to shoulder with people in these types of roles before, and I can absolutely see the value that it would bring to NNC. Just a couple of questions, if I may, about the salary. Is this package benchmarked against local government, or is it benchmarked against the private sector?
We have an evaluation scheme in-house to obviously protect us from equal pay. So it is rank ordered in terms of our own internal processes. We, of course, do look at a field when we're setting our pay line, which we did when we did our pay and grading project. So we are quite competitive. We would never be able to compete with the private sector in all counts, as you'll appreciate. But as we said earlier, there is some scope for negotiation within the agreed, pay range. And we do often check, that we're not completely off kilter with some of our exec search partners, because they've got the sort of benchmark information as well. So they would be quick to tell us if the salary just wasn't meeting the mark and we weren't going to get the appropriate candidates through the door. So we do that check and balance as well. And but yeah, we are broadly competitive, but not necessarily to the level of all private sector.
Thank you. Chair, can I ask a second one? The second question was about the size of the team that would be reporting into this role. Have you scoped out what that would look like yet? Or would that be down to the individual once they're in role?
It would be the transformation and change team, which has got circa about 16 colleagues in it at the moment. And then I think after that, we would then want to consider sort of future scope and opportunities, but that would be the initial starting point, yeah.
And Councillor Fairhall.
You talked about feedback in terms of the salary. What sort of feedback have you had in terms of the timing of this and the state of the market, in terms of, obviously, we tried June last year, going into election period, one would suspect that's probably not a good time to be advertising for these sort of jobs. But is it a case of now we're through that, we're out the other side, and there's a case of saying actually it was deliberately wait? Just a feel for what the feedback is from Penna on this.
Yeah, Penna are quite positive actually. I mean, it's always difficult when you're in like the summer period as well, but actually, there's never the best time, but we're definitely out of that period, and it's quite competitive. I'm not going to lie. There was a period during COVID, as I'm sure we'll all appreciate. A lot of people went to consultancy and to, the interim market. We're out of that now, and we've seen like a gradual kind of move back for people wanting, to look at roles like this. And certainly a lot of the London boroughs are advertising similar roles. So the time is right, I think, for this role. So yeah, they definitely feedback on, whether the market's there, and a general feel for whether we're going to get quite a good candidate pool through the door based on the salary as well. So we've absolutely, that is part of the executive search function that we would expect them to, obviously advise us on as well. But yeah, I think it's a good time, and we are out of, like you say, the darker side.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Questions? Just one more from me, actually. I'm picking up the question that Councillor Bennyworth raised about the pool and getting it right, and also thinking about the salary, obviously not being able to be benchmarked against the private sector. Obviously, it's going to be lower. So what are we doing in terms of increasing the talent pool? Are we going for a wider geographical search in that respect? And if so, are we prepared to have a director of transformation who perhaps works from home in order to get that top talent through the door?
So it will be a national search, I think, is the first thing to say. We will look across the country. But what we will do is we will also we will get inquiries about what is the working conditions. Do you do hybrid working? how often can I work from home? You know, that happens all the time across all levels of the organisation. But obviously we are now making a commitment to sort of crystallise that hybrid working with a minimum of 2 days in the office, subject to some further staff consultation that we've got to undertake. But we've got that strategic steer, which is really helpful and welcome. We're doing our transformation programme around our estate, as members will be aware, so that when people are coming into work, they're coming into an environment that is conducive, both for networking, but also, you know, creating that environment and team ethos to reflect the values that we've got here as an organisation. So we will make that very clear to any potential candidate, and indeed Penna are aware of that as well. So because it's about managing expectations, and it's being you know, upfront and honest, you know, with all of those candidates, I think is important, so that they can make a considered opinion in the first instance as to whether they want to submit, you know, their CV and supporting statement, and that's key as well, is to get a good field of CVs and supporting statements that we can consider, knowing that they've had that conversation around, as you've quite rightly pointed out, Chair, you know, the ways of working that we will be operating here at North Northamptonshire. Is there anything you want to add, Marie?
Only that we have got a redeployment package as well, in terms of, don't we? That we cover like the costs of removal, etc. So, if we do get a candidate that lives farther away, then we have got that option to offer, a package that would hopefully, encourage them to move closer.
I think the other thing is we were having this conversation the other day, that more and more, particularly younger people, are wanting to work in the public sector because they've got that ethos. They want to give something back. So whilst money is important, let's not kid ourselves. Money is important. Remuneration absolutely is. I think having that public sector ethos, knowing that you're giving something back, that you've got that opportunity to shape place, shape communities, shape activities in those communities, is also a draw. I also think that the opportunities for training and development within the public sector is very strong, and similarly, I think we are flexible as well. Whilst we will be operating that hybrid working that we were talking earlier, it's still a flexible organisation to work within. We're family friendly, so we've got a number of benefits that are on offer for our workforce as well. So there's a number of things that outweigh the private sector on that, what I would call that softer side, and I think it's equally important that we sell that as much as the remuneration, important as that is.
Absolutely agreed. Any more questions from anybody? Councillor Gibbs.
What does success for this role look like to you?
Wow. I think it's a colleague that comes in that is ambitious, is keen to learn, that understands our values, and can hit the ground running in terms of that sort of cultural fit and feel, but also is able to garner the respect of colleagues through both what they've previously done, but also what they will be doing. I'm a great believer that actions always speak louder than words in my book. So I think somebody that is able to do that is able to have a strong focus on partnerships, and is able to communicate well in all forums, whether that's sat in front of elected members, or in a team setting with colleagues, or indeed with our partners across North Northamptonshire. So not much we're looking for, but that's probably what success would look like for me. Thanks.
And in terms of KPIs and metrics, has that been considered for the role yet?
Not yet, but what we do with all colleagues is they will have an annual review, and objectives are set. So the Chief Executive will, because this role reports into the Chief Exec, they will have clear objectives set, and set against those objectives will be some metrics, both hard and soft. So hard as in, probably financial, but also soft could be around, partnership working, forging new partnerships, etc. So.
Councillor Bennyworth.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask about our subject matter expert, Penna. I just wanted some assurance, really, that you've worked with them before, that you've laid the groundwork for what you're expecting from them, and will hold them to account for delivery.
Yeah, I can answer that if that's okay. Yeah, we absolutely do. And we write quite a clear specification in terms of what, you know, their responsibilities and what we would like to see in terms of outcomes from themselves, and also obviously what they can expect from us, you know, to obviously get the best pool of candidates through the door. So we do that. Obviously when we go out to tender, you know, because it's a competitive exercise, we make that quite clear what our expectations are, and all the pricing obviously is very transparent. So upfront, so yeah.
Any more for any more? Okay. So, do I read this out? Yeah. So I'd now like to invite the committee to accept the advice being that the Employment Committee, and I apologise, this is going to be a bit long-winded, establishes a politically balanced subcommittee consisting of 6 elected members to interview and appoint the position of Director of Transformation and Strategy, ensuring that at least one executive member is on the subcommittee. Notes that the membership of the subcommittee will consist of 4 Reform Group members, 1 Conservative Group member and 1 Green Party Group member, in accordance with political balance rules. Agree that the following stakeholder panel will be established to provide feedback to the subcommittee, corporate leadership team panel. Delegates authority to the Assistant Director of Human Resources or their nominated deputy in consultation with members of the established subcommittee to longlist and shortlist suitably qualified applicants. Note that the assessment process will include a technical interview and psychometric testing to inform the subcommittee. And last but not least, delegates authority to the subcommittee to appoint the most suitable person for the position. If I could have a show of hands, please. Okay, I guess that's carried. And
just to clarify that that show of hands was for those in favour of the recommendations.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you everyone for attending today, and that will close the meeting.